Hello, friends, and welcome to one of the most exciting days in the summer calendar. Fixture release day. Ipswich Town's Championship fixtures were released at 12 noon today. We'd fully intended to be live for that, but we had what we call in this business of show technical issues. So we thought we'd give you a free live KOA podcast to make up for that. I'm Mark Heath. You can see if you're watching that I'm joined by Stewie and AJ. Exciting times, boys. As I said on Tuesday's podcast, the first step towards the path, towards the journey, to the road, to the start of the season is today. Fixtures are out. We're going to talk about the kind of key parts of the season. But first of all, I want to start with you, AJ. You get incredibly excited about these kind of things because you're young and impressionable and not yet kind of soured by age. How was it for you?
Tried to go to bed early last night. Unfortunately, the anticipation was just so much that I was up until 4 a.m. Kid at Christmas, the whole shebang. Ruined by all of the horrible leaks we saw on social media across the last 24 hours or so. But yeah, that was all good. I've now got, as people can see, that was a loud bang. I've now got my desk set up here, which feels like I've got. You remember the screen from the old day pods that I haven't had in a little while? Feels a little bit like Tuesday's pod, where we kind of had to block out the sides because I haven't got enough space for the screen behind me. But yes, it was good fun, wasn't it? We've covered it. We've done a live blog. We've done a little bit of everything, and now we can all look forward, look ahead.
Excellent. And obviously now we're in a live environment. I think Stu's house just fell down a little bit there. What was that, Stu? Is that your windows falling apart or curtains or something?
Just a breeze, slamming a door in the background.
Okay.
I dealt with it professionally on mute, off mic, but you've drawn it to everyone's attention.
Well, I think people might have heard it, so I just had to explain that in the audio realm. Friends, shall we crack on? Shall we look at the first 5 fixtures which Town are going to face come this big kickoff? And as we predicted, friends, it's going to be Friday night, innit? I said Wrexham away. I wasn't too far away because this is what they've got. Birmingham City, brackets, away. The marquee fixture to kick off the season. AJ, you described this in your typically understated way as a nightmare. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, disaster. No. Look, I don't want to kind of go too heavy on it because Ipswich Town are the favourites to win promotion. And ultimately, you've got to play everyone at some point, don't you? But I'd say in terms of an opening day fixture, this is the hardest game that Ipswich could have got. In terms of a time to play Birmingham, who we all expect will be in the promotion mix, this is probably the worst time to play them. They're unbeaten at St Andrews since April 10th, 2024, at least in league action. They haven't lost a single league game since then, unbeaten at home in League One last year. They've got a lot of money, don't they? They've been in excellent form. So that's probably the initial thought with that one. On the flip side, it's exciting, isn't it? This is the big marquee game probably of the championship weekend. I remember watching Birmingham play Newcastle in the Cup and they basically just blew up the stadium with fireworks. So you'd imagine they'll be up for it. I just think they'll be really, really good. So a little bit concerned in a way because it is a really tough game, but also excited about the prospect of being kind of one of the marquee games, if not the marquee game in the EFL that weekend.
Stu, I put it to you that yes, on paper it's a tough game. Yes, Birmingham haven't lost at home for a year or so, but hey, they've not been playing Ipswich bloody Town, have they? They've been playing League One minnows. This is the real deal, baby.
Yeah, I think that's important to remember. My first instinct, my first reaction to this opening day, as I'm sure most people's, was a little sharp intake of breath, bit of a wince, that if you could probably pick the worst game on paper, it probably is Birmingham away, because we all know what the power of momentum and stability and togetherness and spirit and all that stuff that Birmingham are essentially trying to do in Ipswich, aren't they? So we all know what that can do. St Andrews will be rocking that night, no doubt about it. But I take a little step back and I remind myself it's easy to forget how difficult some of those games were, certainly in the early stages of the Championship season for Ipswich. Yes, they won at Sunderland on the opening day, but I was backs to the wall for a big chunk of that game. They found both games against a power-packed Leeds squad pretty difficult in that Championship season, and that is what Ipswich will be hoping to be this year. So you're right to point out that Birmingham, 111 points, as impressive as that season was, is people like Alfie May and Jay Stansfield, which have played them before. Birmingham's record was very impressive, but it's Burton, it's Shrewsbury, it's whoever else you want to mention, and whereas Ipswich have been playing Man City and Liverpool and the rest of it. So we do need to keep that in mind. It's a tough opening day on paper, but do you know what? Might be a good thing for Ipswich, for the spotlight to be kind of more on Birmingham, I would say, going into this game.
Yeah, easy 3 points for me, I'd say. Good way to start the season. Let's look at the five as a whole, though, because as a start, there's one of two ways to look at this, isn't there? So you have Birmingham to start with, obviously riding a wave of momentum, big game. Then you've only got Southampton as your first home game, clearly expected to be one of the main promotion rivals. Little trip to Preston, long old trip to Preston after that. Then the mighty Derby County on August the 30th, before, as the kind of last of the first 5 games after the first international break, another promotion rival, Sheffield United, come to Portman Road. So you can either look at this, AJ, I would say, as, it's a real chance to kind of demonstrate you're the big dogs in this division and pee metaphorically all over the promotion yard by beating the kind of 3 of the expected promotion challengers, or it's a real banana skin, and it might be tough to come out of the blocks. And we've said numerous times they've got to start well. Given the nature of last season, if they start badly this coming season, you can see maybe that that hangover may prove hard to shift. So what do you make of the 5 as a whole?
First thing to say, I think that Derby County game's a home one. I know it's flashed up
as
an away game. Stu, can you clarify
that?
Yes, it's home. Yeah, it's a home game there, just for anyone who's concerned that we might be going to Hyde Park in August. As a whole, look, it's definitely going to be one of the harder opening sets, isn't it? And it's probably good that there's a break going into that Sheffield United game. They're another one who are going to be up there. But then what we're doing, Preston and Derby in there, a Preston team that I think will probably struggle, and a Derby side that I'm still not totally sold on. There you go, Derby at home now. But potentially it's getting some of the tough games out of the way as well. You're going to be coming out of the first. Oh, I can hear my own voice here. You're going to be coming out of the September international break and that Sheffield United game. You would have already gone to Birmingham and already ticked off Southampton. And then that means, as we'll get on to later, some of those really busy, hectic periods where the games are coming thick and fast, you're not then looking at them being like, wow, these are going to be really tough games against top teams. Do we remember when Town won promotion out of this league before, and they'd had a little wobble, and Stu actually wrote the predictions piece and said, look, they've got a run here where there's quite a lot of games and there's quite a lot of travel, but they're really winnable games. And he was right. They managed to go and pick up enough points to basically fire themselves into an automatic promotion mix. So possibly having this kind of tough run with Birmingham, with Southampton, with Sheffield United can really work in Town's favour in the long term.
You can look at those opening 5 in sort of 2 parts. Yes, there's Birmingham, Southampton and Sheffield United in there, but equally Preston and Derby both escaped the drop by, I think, 1 point in the end, just narrowly above the relegation zone last year. So there's a mix of games in there. I do think starting reasonably well is important to set the tone because, as we've discussed, target on the back, bit of a relegation hangover, haven't won a lot of games, certainly haven't won a lot of games at Portman Road. There is the potential for the jitters to grow, for everyone to get a little bit nervy and edgy. So, yeah, as you said, Mark, you can look at this one or two ways, but I prefer to kind of look at it as an opportunity to stamp their mark on this division and blow away those relegation cobwebs and rekindle everything that was so special from the previous season.
Excellent. Is that now right then, that 5? Because I put these banners together at breakneck speed. Clearly I got Derby County wrong. So Birmingham away, Southampton home, Preston away, Derby home, Sheffield United home, back-to-back home games around the international break. Let's take a few thoughts from listeners. Philip Blundell is very much in the let's do this category. Philip Blundell says, if Town beat Brum and Saints in the first week, we'll all know where Town are at in the promotion campaign. Exactly. He also mentions getting the hard ones out the way early. Neil points out unbeaten in the West Midlands last season. There we go. Our old friend of the show, actually, the sweetest of Welsh princes, Harvey Davis. No doubt Birmingham will have an influx of new signings and investment. That doesn't always gel right away. Good point, Harvey. Like it. Might work in our favour and should be full of confidence going there. Agree, mate.
Yeah, squads are still very much being built in August, aren't they? You know, window doesn't shut till the 1st of September. So that first month is when things are being built. And Ipswich, really, I would imagine, have got the crux of their squad. We've been having a chat about how many signings, somewhere between 3 and 5. I think we came to that conclusion. So having the squad in place and a full pre-season will hopefully give Ipswich a bit of a head start on some of these teams.
Just finally, before we move on, STST, he says, trying to get that to flash up. There it is. Birmingham will ruin the team spirit like we did last year with too many signings. I see an opening day win. Lots of positivity around, boys. I like it. When you just go back, before we move on from this first 5, which one, AJ, of those 5 fixtures gives you most pause for concern?
Birmingham away is the one that stands out for me. Southampton, I think, are going to be in. Well, I mean, they've got similar concerns, don't they? And they've got a new manager coming in, and they'll have key players that will leave after relegation. I think that playing them at that point is not a bad thing by any means. I think that Preston and Derby look games that Ipswich should be winning, given their status as the favourites to win promotion. And Sheffield United, again, new manager and Ruben Sayers. Going to be a little bit of kind of things up in the air. Yes, it's after the international break. There's a bit of time. I'm still not sure what they're going to be. Birmingham, and I understand the point that Harvey's made about kind of, and others have made about lots of new signings coming in. I don't think, similar to Ipswich, I think they've done their spending in League One. I'm not sure they're going to come in and add 10, 15 new players. I think they've got a squad already that showed they can compete right at the top end of the Championship, and it will be about adding little sprinkles of quality. They won't get that all done at the start of the window, but with the atmosphere, with any sort of rustiness or hangover from Premier League relegation, that would be the one that concerns me the most. But yeah, there's still reasons to be confident going into that game regardless.
It's not concerning anyone else, mate. Look at Harry. He says the fact that all the cameras impress you will likely be on Brom will help us a lot, from Harry. Stewie, same questions for you about the first 5. And also, I know in your analysis, when referencing the Birmingham game, you put Tom Brady and Ed Sheeran in the stands, brackets, yuck.
Well, yeah, kind of. Is it a modern phenomenon? I guess it is now. We're kind of celebrities front and centre of all things Ipswich. Look, Ed's been amazing for this football club financially, spreading it on a global scale, all of that. He won't be there, I don't think, for the Birmingham one, because having a quick look at his tour dates, I think he's away abroad somewhere. I think Belgium. I have to double check. But yeah, that's how it will kind of be glamorized and sold, I'm sure, from a narrative point of view. We're there for the football. But in answer to your question, look, we've covered the Birmingham game, which is, obviously potentially tricky because of everything we've discussed. Southampton at home is also one because of the Ipswich home record. The fact that there was, Ipswich haven't won a home game in the league this calendar year. One home win in the league last season against Chelsea right at the back end of 2024. I think obviously making Portman Road the fortress was a huge factor in the promotion last time around. And I think needing to perform and get a win in front of the supporters early on is going to be really important. So that Southampton fixture has now become a little bit of a mini rivalry, hasn't it, over the last 2 seasons? Those did the double over them on the way to promotion with that Amari Hutchinson winner quite early on at St Mary's, the famous night with Sarmiento's winner over Easter, and then last season just the one disappointing point against a team that ultimately finished with 12 points in the end, and 4 of those came against Ipswich. Sam Morsey needed to get that late equaliser down at their place, and then that day, was it February time, the 2-1 defeat to Southampton really was the day, I think, when we all accepted that relegation was on the cards. Ipswich were, I think, by far the better team that day. It's important to remember. And Kieran McKenna was at pains to sort of say that actually, even though the results were worse against Southampton, the difference in kind of performance levels had narrowed against them. So that feels like a big one to me. Southampton, arguably even bigger than Birmingham, I would say.
Okay, let's take a few more comments before we move on. Louis says a great chance to set up a really good run for October to January. And Matt Townrow says Southampton will beat them because they'll still be struggling to get ideas. Will still be struggling to get his ideas across early on, which I very much like. Right then, let's move on, shall we? So we get the first 5 out the way. Town win all 5, set up the promotion push, and then when we talk about rivalries, hold on, let me get rid of this. Let me see. We talk about this, don't we? Derby days. So we know the East Anglian Derby is going to be back next season. And we know the days that Town are going to have a chance to beat the old rivals for the first time since 2009. Come on now, this has got to be the year, hasn't it? So Derby days, October the 4th at Portman Road. And then, bizarrely, exactly the same date as they went to KOA Road in the last championship season and lost. Obviously, that was one of the most disappointing performances of the season. So, AJ, Derby days, they're back again. Mm-hmm. How are you feeling about the timing? Because I'll be honest, I kind of wanted it to be earlier than October. If they were going to play Norwich, I wanted it to be sort of August, September time, first time. Capitalise maybe on Norwich, new boss and all that kind of stuff. How do you feel about it?
Should we split this? Does this work quite well if I talk about the October one and Stu can talk about April? Because I think that they're very contrasting games, aren't they? I think the October one, although it would be better, as you say, to have it earlier, I'd rather kind of strike while the iron's hot, and Norwich going through a lot of changes over the summer, new manager, new players, still the same ambitions that they seem to have every single year and then struggled to kind of realise recently. I think it would have been good if it was. In the bit I did, I said the perfect slot would have been when Town are playing Derby. So the last game before the international break would be perfect because everything's still really fresh. You've got the break to look forward to. It's kind of like a big blowout kind of game there, which I think would work really, really well. With the October one, I think it does still come before an international break, so that works quite well. And it is still early in the season. This isn't like the game in the last championship campaign where we had to wait so long. And it was everything about being back in the championship was built up as it's Norwich again. We've got to beat Norwich back in this league, and we're going to be in a better position to come up against them. And then we had to wait half a year to actually get that game. And that was a real frustration. So to be able to have that game quite early on at Portman Road, where hopefully then all the concerns about the home record are gone, I think it's really good. So yeah, could have been better for sure if it was earlier on in the campaign, but I think it's in a good enough position for Town to have a real shot at it.
Yeah, got to be going out tomorrow morning. We're just kind of catching up and contrasting and comparing how the two clubs are shaping up heading into the summer with the help of Connor Southwell from the Eastern Daily Press, who's given us some good insight into Norwich. That goes out at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. If you want to read that, Michael's bring up a comment here. Michael says, first time around, Ipswich were an unknown quantity in the championship with no pressure on them. Now Ipswich have expectancy, and with that comes pressure, a big test to see if Town can handle the pressure. Yes, indeed. And one of the pressures, of course, Stu, will be to beat Norwich for the first time in 16 years.
Yeah, pressure is a massive part of this. I think when we all take a step back and look at it objectively, I think Ipswich's quality and proven quality in this division is clear. There's a reason that the bookies have them as favourites, but how do Ipswich handle that? The promotion last time around, as Michael points out, was built on this kind of underdog mentality. Mark Ashton called it the shark mentality of attacking from behind. And there was a feeling as they went into different boardrooms throughout the championship season, Ipswich will wither away, they'll drop away. And that kind of proved to be a motivating factor. Now there's a target on the back, so everyone's going to be looking at Ipswich, a team that chucked a bit of money around in the Premier League and potentially raising their games when facing Ipswich. How are we going to handle that? How are we all going to handle that as media, fans, players, staff? I can't remember the last time that we've had that as Ipswich, really. Dropping down into League One, everyone got a little bit carried away with sort of going on a League One tour. And that, you remember Jerry Barton sort of mocking the hand-holding celebrations at Fleetwood quite early on and saying, well, it's a bit early for that. Let's see if this is built on solid footings. And of course, it wasn't. So there is a danger of that. So you can look at this one or two ways. It's a potential for nerves to grow, or it's a potential to light the blue touch paper. And we've discussed the 5-game start. The Norwich game comes 9 games in. The mood going into that's going to be really, really interesting, depending on how Ipswich have started. I note that they've gone to Bristol City on the Tuesday night, building up to that as well. So not a fairly short turnaround for that game.
Do you know what there also is an opportunity for? Not just beating Norwich, but whisper it quietly. April the 11th. Not many games to go. Could they, friends, secure promotion if indeed that's the way the season's going to go at Carrow Road on April 11th? That would be amazing, wouldn't it? Neil?
Let me paint a picture for you. I said this in the group chat earlier. Imagine if Ipswich don't win the Portman Road home game, they do the big cut. I'd be interested to see if the fans kind of organise the big coach welcome and all that again, as they did last time, or whether it's a little bit more low key and then see if the game kind of does the talking. But imagine if that one slips by, and I don't know what the number of games that will be without beating Norwich, but it will take it into close to 17 years by the time the reverse fixture at Carrow Road rolls around in April. Imagine if that record ended with a win at Carrow Road, as you mentioned, that could potentially seal promotion, because that is five games from the end. So that would require a very, very good season, a very good season indeed, for that to be counting for something at that stage. I'd say it's unlikely, but it's a nice little picture to paint in our minds, isn't it?
You're also saying there's a chance, Stu. Neil says we might get in the League Cup too. Another thought here from Paul Day. Controversial thought, but if we get promoted as champions come May, will we care too much if we only got 2 draws against the Budgies, as long as they stay in the Championship?
Nope.
Can we say who cares? No? Disagree?
Didn't last time, did we? Didn't beat them last time, and I don't remember that being discussed too much on those glorious scenes in May after the Huddersfield match and on the bank holiday Monday.
Oh, come on, we need to beat Norwich though, don't we? Jorgen Salagard, quite the name, says we'll beat Birmingham 2-0. I like it, Jorgen. There's a lot of confidence around this first game, boys. I think this is going to be something we're going to see as a theme of going into the season. A lot of confidence around it, and I like it. But as you say, there's definitely, with expectation and confidence comes pressure. Right then, so those are derby days, obviously 2 of the biggest days on the calendar. I'm sure what most of you are looking for outside of the first game this season. The best time of year to be a football fan in the Championship, Christmas. Conversely, the worst time to be a journalist, sadly, because we don't get to see any of our family. This is Christmas this year, December the 20th, Sheffield Wednesday at home. Wednesday are a complete mess, as I understand it. Boxing Day, the Alex Jones derby, off to Millwall. Then December 29th, Coventry City away. New Year's Day, Oxford United at home. So we got used to there not being a lot of games in the Premier League. Over Christmas in the Championship, we've got 5. Is that 5? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, is that 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. It's a lot of games in a very short space of time anyway. AJ, Christmas is when teams in golf, they call it moving day, don't they? The Saturday where players start to move up the leaderboard. Same at Christmas and football. How do you feel about this set of fixtures?
Couldn't have gone much better, I don't think. I mean, look, Millwall from a personal perspective, I think is great. I love going down there. Lots of people that I know, fantastic. I said and think I'd rather not have them earlier in the season because they're one of the teams where a lot of clubs at this level are going through transitions. Millwall are not. Millwall built consistency, and that's what I think could carry them. So not having them early doors, I think, is a positive. The biggest thing for me is that there's not a lot of travel in this, is there? And you look at the games kind of either side of the run as well. I believe it's December starts and ends with Coventry in there. Coventry at home and away, as we've written on there. Stoke at home. Yeah, there's a not midweek. There's a midweek Stoke and then Leicester. I think it's the furthest that Town really have to go. Leicester and Coventry. It's not far to travel. And when it's those kind of cold nights, it gets dark really soon. You want to be home. I'm sure the players all feel the same way. You don't want to be going up to Middlesbrough like we had in 2023 in December. I think that's a real positive there. And in general, especially the run that we put there, I think it's quite a favourable one as well. Sheffield Wednesday not in a great state. We'll see where they're at. In December, Danny Roll apparently set to leave from what I've seen this morning. Millwall have kind of touched upon. Coventry will be the hardest one there, I'd say. And Oxford, I like where Oxford are at the moment for sure, but I don't think that, again, it's one of those games about Ipswich. If you want to be a promotion contender, you've got to be winning that one at Portman Road. So, yeah, kind of flips a little bit from the start of the season. Sometimes you have to get these runs of harder games out of the way, so that at Christmas time, when it's cold and dark and there's lots of games, it's a little bit easier. So a positive to take from that.
Before we move on to your thoughts on this, Stu, thoughts from JC Kensway. Squad depth a big factor come Christmas time, say I, which is a good point. Stu, how are you feeling about this Christmas crunch? I think you're on mute, old friend.
Classic. It would have been nice to have a home game on Boxing Day. I think everyone always looks out for that. It's part of their sort of routine over Christmas. But that said, Millwall and Coventry are not too far away, and they both come with some very nice memories. And I think we're going to go into a lot of these games making comparisons between the promotion season. Millwall away, 4-0 on Valentine's Day, if you remember. I think that was when Ali Al-Hamadi scored. It was a penalty that night. And then Coventry, of course, an iconic night that will forever live in Ipswich Town folklore, the penultimate match, which really was the night when we knew they got over the line with that Cameron Burgess winner at the Rico. It's not the Rico anymore, is it? It's the CBS Arena.
CBS, yeah.
Yeah, so, that's not a bad little Christmas period, I would say, in summary. But the point from, excuse me, I can't remember JC, who flashed up about squad depth is an interesting one. If you remember back to the busy Christmas period in the Championship season, there was that, and I'm going to use an Alex word here, horrendous match against QPR on the 29th. There was just too many games squeezed into a short period that year, and I think Ipswich had about 5 first-team players out through injuries and illness. Freddie Ladapo got a bit of stick that night. There was a medical incident in the stand. It was just a really poor match. And I know we all want football over Christmas, but sometimes I think it's to the detriment of the quality of games. It's not quite as busy this year, but it is still 4 games in a fairly short space of time. So, hopefully it's a time of year when Ipswich can get a little bit of momentum going.
Okay. Fast forward then to the next holiday, Easter. Another big weekend traditionally in terms of promotion. So this friends, this is extraordinarily difficult, you would say, looking at it on paper. Good Friday, Southampton away, Easter Monday, Birmingham at home. AJ, have you got some hyperbole to describe this pair of fixtures? The worst thing you've ever seen, that kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, the one that initially came to mind, I don't think it's that big on the hyperbole side, but it's daunting. It's quite a daunting set. Look, Town's record against Southampton. I mean, look, from the away games, we've got some good memories from those. Amari Hutchinson scored the winner there in the Championship, and then Sam Morsey's equaliser in the 1-1 draw in September last year, wasn't it? So there's good memories there. Look, it's the same kind of discussion, I think, that we've had around the start of the season. 2 of the same games. It's just flipped in reverse. The interesting kind of extra layer to it is that there will be one eye on Norwich as well, because it's these 2 games and then straight off to Carrow Road. And this is where the run-in gets tasty. Possibly it's better to have these kind of games in the run-in because it means that you're kind of controlling your own destiny in a way. You're not constantly thinking, what are this team doing? What are this team doing? Town know that if they go to Southampton and win, there'll be the X amount of points clear of Southampton or X amount of points closer to Southampton. It'll be the same with Birmingham. That's maybe what you want rather than always looking over your shoulder. And Town over Easter weekend last time, I remember going up to Blackburn and watching or listening on the radio to all of the games in the car of what every other team was doing, and everything kind of went Town's way, but you can't always rely on that. So maybe it's a good thing that Town can control their destiny in a way.
Yeah. Last time out, of course, Easter Monday, we got one of the most iconic moments in recent Town history. Opportunity perhaps for something similar?
Yeah, it's Southampton being on Easter weekend again feels sort of a little bit of fate about that, albeit it's on the Friday and it's away this time around. But the Birmingham home game, we've just discussed everything around the trip to St Andrews and where Birmingham might be. this season. That one jumps off the page. Easter Monday against Birmingham. That's a tasty old Easter weekend. You talked about sort of moving weekend or moving periods in the season. Easter is normally what separates the men from the boys, isn't it? So, looking forward to that. Daunting, that's one word to describe it. Exciting as well. Let's go with that.
A lot of these are marquee games, which you can see they're going to be on Sky around all these holidays as well, can't you? Just harking back to that QPR game, Stewie, Paul Day says, I was at that QPR game. It's one of the worst in recent memory for me. So, not all happy memories from that season. Let's move on then to the final 5. So we've just seen there, Easter Monday, Birmingham. Then you bounce straight into the last 5. And hopefully a chance, as we just said, to secure promotion if things are going really well. And hopefully they will be at Norwich City. That would be lovely. So April 11th, Norwich City away. April 18th, Middlesbrough at home. Followed by April 22nd, Charlton away. So the last midweek game. April 25th is West Brom away. And then they finish, which seems incredibly early, May the 2nd for a season to finish, having just come out of the Premier League. QPR at home. So as we all hope and expect, AJ, Town will be right up there. What do you make of this as a final 5 in that scenario?
It's only a couple of season ends only a couple of days earlier than it did last Championship season. It's all the same. The run-in feels quite similar in a way, doesn't it? Because we've obviously got the Norwich game, Middlesbrough. Well, they played Middlesbrough at home in the run-in as well there. So last time Ipswich went to Norwich, then had Watford and then Middlesbrough. So it's kind of those similarities there. And there's kind of games where I think there's a lot of teams I'm not totally sure upon. You look at Borough, what are they going to be without Michael Carrick? Could they be a playoff team? Could they be pushing higher? Will they struggle with Rob Edwards there? Really not sure. West Brom with Ryan Mason, total unknown for me. QPR on final day, again, going through some real changes. Could be absolutely anything. So those are going to be really interesting ones to see. And they're really hard to judge, I think, before we get a proper look at these teams at the start of the season. All in all, it looks all right to me. There's no kind of hugely difficult games. There's none. I wouldn't say there's any of these sides that you'd be expecting in an automatic promotion battle necessarily. And as I keep saying, Town are in a position where they should be finishing above every team that they have in this run-in section. So as Jurgen has said there, we have nothing to fear, and I like that. So I think that kind of works quite well. Nothing that I'm overly concerned about in that run-in.
Jurgen's a confident man. I like it. He also points out it's not Liverpool. True, Jurgen. No. Stu, on paper, a fairly decent final 5 from a promotion chasing point of view, if that's the scenario that Town are in.
Yeah, as Alex rightly points out, it's a bit of a fool's mission sometimes trying to work out these.
Oh, there he is back. You're back.
Sorry,
that's all right.
It's very, very, very difficult to, as Alex points out, to kind of read too much into fixtures because the Championship is so unpredictable, and there will be teams that completely shock us in a positive sense, and there will be teams that we thought, oh, that's a tough one on paper that that it might all go to pot for them. So caveat all of this chat with that. Final 5, Charlton away, the Valley shudders. That 4-4 draw. There's something to avenge there. Maybe it would be fitting for something special to happen at the Valley on April the 25th.
Not just that game as well. Of course, there was the terrible game when Paul Cook had just been sacked, wasn't it? That was Charlton, wasn't it, as well? With the
Toto went over to the fans. Yeah,
Toto getting involved with the fans. Yeah, so not happy memories. Let's make some new happy memories this time around, shall we? At Charlton. Right then. So that's the kind of the key fixture, I guess. Periods. Are there any other games? Clearly, I've not gone through every single game in every single month. But are there any other games that you're looking at, boys, when you look at the fixtures and think, oh, that's a tasty one, that's an important one, that kind of stuff? Either of you?
Wrexham.
Oh,
there's going to be so much Hollywood narrative around Wrexham. First game is in November 22nd. That's at Portman Road, and then going there in February. Right after the January transfer window. There's only a few games in between, so that's probably one that stands out to me. Leicester, another one. Again, not really sure what Leicester are going to be because there's so much going on there. They really could be mid-table relegation or a team right at the top again. Those two probably the ones that stand out the most. I'm trying to think if there's any others that really jump off the page. Not too many, but the Wrexham one, I think, for me is definitely going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, I'd
When's
agree
the
with that.
Wrexham one? When's
Wrexham
Wrexham?
is February. The away game is February the 21st. Racecourse ground? Is it still the racecourse ground?
I believe so, yeah.
I think that's my only new ground to tick off this season. So that was one I was looking out for. I'll throw another one in the mix. There's always some ex-player narrative in a season. Swansea, Cameron Burgess. Ipswich will not run into him until November the 8th before we head to Swansea. So a little wait before we get the slightly surreal sight of seeing Big Cam lining up against Ipswich.
That's going to sting a bit, isn't it? Right then, one more question. We have got a couple of other things just to talk about, obviously, before we finish this. But this is a good question from Paul. Bit mean of me to put you on the spot like this, but I'm going to do it. Paul Day, now you've seen the fixtures, the opening 5, the run-in. Do you all still think we'll win promotion via autos at least? Alex Jones, what do you say? Ipswich Town, are the favourites to win the championship. I've done a story this morning that says 1 in every 4 bets placed on the championship winner with a certain bookmaker, Betfair, is going on Town to win the league, which is massive, isn't it? So is that right? Do you feel like that?
First point to say, when I was discussing the fixtures with Stu, I felt a lot less confident when seeing them all kind of in black and white. And I don't know if other fans have the same thing, where you see them and then you're like, whoa, actually, now I feel a little bit nervous here. I think once you let things settle down, you kind of go back to how you were feeling before. And my feeling before, as I've said, and I have the right to change this at any point up until we make our official predictions.
Yes, correct.
Ipswich will win automatic promotion, and that hasn't changed. So I think they will get top 2. Yeah,
excellent. I like it, Stu. You, how are you feeling? Are you confident?
Quietly, yeah. I don't want to overplay it. As I said to you before, every year it's a bit of a head and heart thing, and this year it's probably been in reverse in previous years. Whereas this year, I think my heart is a little bit sort of worried. The gut, I should say, is I'm a bit uncomfortable with how much confidence I'm seeing in this group chat at the moment, and Ipswich being the favourites and potential for it all to get a bit jittery. But then I take a step back and I look at it objectively with my head. And, we've just done in the previous pod the squad assessment, and we've gone through it, and we've gone Jacob Greaves, Championship Team of the Year, Sammy Schmodix, Championship top goal scorer last time around, Jack Clark, shining light in the Championship not so long ago. Never mind the fact that Ipswich have still got the bulk of their promotion squad, a team that finished second last time around, and there's still going to be some more recruitment to come. So, yeah, why not top 2? I think there's no point shying away from it. I'll be intrigued to see how Kieran McKenna and the players kind of talk about it in the build-up, whether they'll be avoiding the P word and it will all be kind of not looking at the league table and it's all process-driven, and I'm sure it will be all that sort of chat. But privately, they've got to be gunning for top 2.
Of course, yeah. And it's as you say, Stu, it's the other P word they'll be trotting out, isn't it? It will be the process as opposed to promotion. But, one of McKenna's favourite things to say is we have to embrace it and enjoy it. And I think they have to embrace the fact they are going to be favourites to win the league. And there's no running away from that. That's the expectation. And Paul Day agrees with us. The squad alone is a championship super team. We will win this league. Like it. And Michael here says, this is likely to be the most wide open championship season I've seen for many years. For me, there is no outstanding favourites. Ipswich, Sheffield United, Southampton lose players in the window. I don't think he'd finished his comment there. I should maybe have read that before I brought it up. But there we go. Another point here from Jorgen, who's very confident. Jack Clark, great at the end of last season. It will be interesting to see who steps up on it in the championship. Right then, before we take our leave from this impromptu and somewhat slightly shambolic live pod, I would say a few things to mention. Transfers, AJ. I just want to raise this. I haven't warned you, but I was off yesterday, and I saw a classic transfer rumor, which got the spider senses tingling, because it's an American striker who's 6'4". What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, fun this. There will be a rumor roundup with a few bits that actually have not really been seen too much, but one that has been seen everywhere. We reported it, and it's come from Give Me Sport, and their kind of MLS expert Tom Bogut said that Ipswich are one of the teams interested in Patrick. Oh dear, Patrick Adjumang. I'm going to go with that.
Fine.
I'm
Yeah,
quite
all
happy
good.
with
Nailed
that.
it.
Yeah, we'll go with that. 6'4", big 9-cap US international, 5 goals at the level, playing for Charlotte FC in MLS. Got 6 goals and 1 assist this season. Fits the profile, doesn't he? 24, big old boy, bit of a target man. Not the only team interested, from what we can tell. Derby County are the ones who seem to be pushing the hardest. There was a Fabrizio Romano tweet saying that they were kind of closing in on a deal. It's Tom Bogut who said there's no agreement in place, so there's other teams interested. That's Genk and Ipswich. Luton had a bid rejected back in January. That's where we kind of are with him at the moment. So it's an exciting one. It's a different name. It's what we like to see. I'm sure we'll have quite a few strikers linked in the next few weeks to go with the ones we've already had, Mark Guyu and Divine Mubama. There's plenty of plates that are spinning at the moment with strikers, and he's definitely one of the more intriguing names.
I suppose we'd also better mention Amari, AJ, because he's been linked with all and sundry. He's not doing us any favour at all by putting himself in the international shop window. His performances for the England under-21s, obviously a final for him on Saturday. Just bring people up to speed on all the links with Amari and what you think about them.
Yeah, first thing to say with Amari has been excellent. I think at Euro under-21, I've watched every game he's played so far, which I'm very proud to say. Of course I've even watched the game where he didn't start. Done really, really well. So look, it's great to see, and I think we should be proud of players for playing a starring role international tournaments. From his perspective, then there have been quite a few links. There were beforehand, and then we saw some other reports coming in saying that Town are quite confident in keeping him. Now the Daily Mail reported there's 6 clubs keeping tabs on him, interested in making a move. Fulham, West Ham, Everton and Brentford are the Premier League ones. Borussia Dortmund and RB Leipzig in the Bundesliga. Everyone knows about kind of the reports we've seen with the £35 million relegation release clause. I think that it's quite clear that it would take that to get him out of Portman Road. I don't think that Ipswich would accept any less. My gut's always been that he will stay, but every time I see him play like he has been, knowing how many scouts are going to be at Euro under-21, the more I start to question my logic about him staying, and you can understand why some teams would be interested in splashing the cash. So hopefully he stays, but I can understand why there's so much interest in him.
Stop playing so well, Amari. Come on. Jorgen, again, a confident man, says, I think Amari stays. Stu, we've always said, I think all of us have all said, we think he'll still be here. That 35 million may be a bit too high for someone who didn't completely set the Premier League alight and clearly has still got a lot of growing to do. Are you starting, though, to kind of be worried around that as we get, clearly, he's in the shop window at the moment. Lots of links. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was ever totally confident that he would stay. And I would say as time's gone on, I've maybe felt less confident. And that's not based on any kind of inside knowledge. Kind of pick up on the interview I did with Mark Ashton, where he talked about there won't be a mass exodus. We don't need to do a fire sale, but there will be 1 or 2 departures. Now, that might just be semantics. You might be overreading into that. But Delap's one. Does it need one other major exit? Amari, with Dara tied down to a new contract now, Amari would be right towards the top of that list. 35 million did feel a bit chunky for what Amari Hutchinson's done in his young career so far. That said, this sounds ridiculous to say, what's 35 million in today's market? That is kind of becoming a bang average Premier League wage. People can take a punt on that, can't they? I watched the game the other night. He was certainly very impressive in the first half. He's been playing sort of more off the left for England. Lee Carsley sort of telling him to be a bit more greedy and take people on. And so he's looking good there. We'll see what happens on that front. But I certainly wouldn't be betting my mortgage on him staying at the moment. But hopefully they can keep him.
Fingers crossed. And you mentioned something else there that's happened since we last spoke to you. In the squad audit, you actually said something around Town looking to get O'Shea tied down to a new contract. That's happened. That's big, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. He's now it's a new 5-year contract. So why would Ipswich do that? He was already on His deal already ran to 2029, so he was well contracted. To see off some competition for trying to lure him away. 2 successive summers. Dara O'Shea has been relegated with the team, first West Brom, then Burnley, and managed to return to the Premier League straight away via transfer. And his performances last season, I think, would have merited that happening again. Reports that Leeds, Burnley wanting him back, Wolves were all interested in him. He was Ipswich's most consistent performer. I think we're all in agreement last year. Certainly played more minutes than anybody else. So Ipswich have moved to reward him with a new contract. I would imagine his previous contract included a sort of a decent relegation wage reduction clause in it. So this has probably gone some way to negating that and giving him a better wage than he would have been on. And the way Kieran McKenna talks about him and his teammates talk about him, you know, he's a future captain in the making, Dara O'Shea. He's now under the longest contract of anyone at the club. Whether that is in the immediate future will be dependent on, you know, if Sam Morsey stays. But there will come a point in time where Dara O'Shea, I'm sure of it, will become Ipswich Town captain, and he is seen as a central piece in the plan for the next few years ahead.
Do you know what I enjoyed most about the Dara O'Shea signs new deal bit? The fact he was clearly on holiday with the signing pictures and the video where he's just walking by a pool. I thought it was excellent. Good content. Shall we finish with a couple more questions? Difficult one here, but it is going to get asked at some point, I'm sure. HCH9990. Don't know what that is. Sounds like a password. What chance a Prem team calls for K-Mac during the season? AJ, K-Mac, we're not expecting the same sort of interest in him, clearly, as opposed to last season. But as we all think, Town start fast. Move towards potential third promotion in 4 seasons. Sacking season starts. You can see it, can't you?
Yeah, K-Mac, the K-Dog, as we sometimes refer to him on this podcast. I'm quite confident about McKenna and staying at Ipswich for a couple of reasons. I think no matter how well the season goes, I think that there would be kind of a level of clubs that would be looking at Kieran McKenna, and we've seen Brentford already, and it's kind of clubs in that region. And I know that Chelsea have before, and Manchester United, we've seen all of those links. We know that there was definite truth in some parts of those stories, at least. I think it would take a job like that to get Kieran McKenna out of Ipswich Town. It would need to be an opportunity that would be quite comfortably beyond what Ipswich could offer. And I don't think that there's that many of these kind of clubs out there. I think it really would take a top job. And we talk a lot about the control that he has, of course, with signings, of course, with the training ground, a million and one other things. He's happy where he is. And I just think it would take quite a big offer, quite a big club and a big deal to get him away. So I'd say I'm confident that no matter what happens next season, he'll stay the course.
I've just been looking at the Premier League table to see who would jump off the page as potential kind of October, November early sacking come call for Kieran McKenna. West Ham is probably the biggest one, I would say. Graham Potter came in quite late last season. I think there's quite a few question marks over him. Hasn't had enough time yet for them to pull the trigger, but I could see them kind of getting off to a poor start and making a change. Would that turn Kieran McKenna's head if Ipswich had got off to a really good start? Not sure. I think it needs Ipswich to get off to a flyer in some of those tough early fixtures. And then if they've got off to a flyer, is that enough for Kieran to think, I'm onto a good thing here? Still lots of unfinished business, hopefully. Brentford, if it's Keith Andrews, still hasn't been announced, has it yet? I mean, if that ends up being a complete disaster, you know, it'd be his first job in senior management, and then they decide to very quickly make a change. Could that still be in play? Maybe, but there's not loads of clubs there that I would say is worrying me.
When the season's about to kick off, Stu, and you have the first press conference with Kieran McKenna, and you go up to him and you give him your special handshake you have, can you call him K-Dog? Just see how he reacts? I'd love to see how his face reacted to that.
Absolutely not. It's not him, and it's not me.
Boring. Mr. Ipswich Town says O'Shea is a signing on its own, of course, like a new signing. And he also again asked this, Stu, which I'm going to stick to you. You think Lee Grant leaving could damage the backroom staff? He was teaching strikers how to score and score well. So obviously he's departed for pastures new, Huddersfield. I quite like the idea of Huddersfield now becoming a bit of a feeder club for Ipswich Town in terms of sending out loan players there and that kind of stuff. But what do you reckon, Stu? How much of an impact do you reckon him leaving could make?
Well, he's obviously very highly thought of to be given a job of Huddersfield stature in League One. He's spoken publicly about, his plan has always been to get into senior management. He's had a fantastic longevity in his playing career and ended up at Manchester United. So he's going to be a loss to the staff. But how much of an impact it has, I guess, remains to be seen. When I'm just trying to work out the timeline of when he joined, he didn't join at the same time as Kieran McKenna and co, did he? Because he didn't retire till, I think, 2022. So, Ipswich was scoring goals, albeit at a lower level before he arrived. Shawnee Aluko, I would imagine, is playing quite an influential role in the attacking side of things behind the scenes. So, Mark Ashton has talked about wanting to get the best of the best away from some of the biggest clubs in the land. There's always a plan behind the scenes. You certainly always feel like there's a plan. If Kieran McKenna does get spirited away at some stage, they will have people in mind to step in, and hopefully that is the case with Lee Grant as well. But hopefully that can be done sooner rather than later, because players start coming back for pre-season as of next week.
Right, and we'll take two more questions. I'd love to sit here all day and take questions, but we have to crack on. Thanks for all your input, by the way. You've had a lot of questions, a lot of thoughts, all good. AJ, this is one for you. Friend of the show, Strike Live winner, Strike Cup holder, Callum Brissett. Do we think the Championship is weaker than it was in the last promotion season?
I think there's two different parts to this. One is the Championship as a whole, and one is what I would expect to be the Championship automatic promotion race. Do I think that the Championship automatic promotion race is weaker? Yes, I do. I don't think you're going to see 4 teams performing at the level that they did when Ipswich went up, getting huge points tallies. And I know Sheffield United, for example, did last season and missed out, but I just don't really see it, especially with Leicester and a potential points deduction. Question marks over Southampton. Birmingham should be good, but how good? I think there's a lot of uncertainty around top teams, whereas you could back on Leeds to deliver, and you could back on Southampton when they came down the last time that they were going to get a huge points total, things like that. And I'm just not that convinced this time. The league as a whole, I think, is more competitive, and I think that, for example, the relegation battle in the Championship, I think, will be fierce. I think there's a lot of good teams, so I think that the level as a whole has gone up, but I don't think it's going to be quite as competitive towards the top. I don't think we're going to see this kind of breakneck promotion race with 100 points and 4 teams all trying to get to that number. I think it'll be a little bit different.
It's going to be nice to be back in a league where it's not all wrapped up with about 3 months to go, isn't it? And the only question left on the final day is who gets into Europe. Back in a proper football league now. Hardest league to get out of in the world. Nathan Hall, Stu, final question for you. Do you think Ipswich will recruit more players outside of England this season, given the fact Houston was a great loan signing? Now, as I mentioned earlier, we've done a Norwich bit for tomorrow morning, and their recruitment, they recruit so many players from overseas, in sharp contrast to Town. Now, we know McKenna has said before that they're a bit behind in terms of recruitment and all that kind of stuff. Do you think that it's something they're going to be starting to explore a bit more?
Getting linked to a few, aren't they? Alex has mentioned the American striker, that would be very interesting in the build-up to a World Cup on US soil next summer. I note that Patrick Ajerman, it's got links to the Rhode Island Rams, or which obviously Brett Johnson's got kind of links to Rhode Island as well. So that would be interesting. Is this summer too soon would be the question mark. Kieran McKenna's always been big on saying that when they do start to recruit from abroad, the infrastructure has to be right in allowing these players to settle and integrate. And he hasn't felt that was the case in the past, didn't feel that they had the data set up or the scouting network to identify them in the first place. Has said that they're kind of way behind the likes of Brighton and Brentford. That said, if you have a little look, I've been keeping track of the Championship transfers so far, and quite a few second-tier clubs do recruit from abroad. Birmingham have brought in players from Asia, haven't they? So even further afield. I don't know. I'm not convinced that this will be the summer. If Mark Ashton's talking about still building the recruitment department this summer, you would imagine that that won't then feed through to players coming through the door till later transfer windows would be my gut feeling, but you never know.
Right then, let's start to wrap up. This has been fun. We should do more of these live interaction. I like it. Paul Day just says, "Great session, guys. Thank you, Paul." I always like to read out positive comments around our output. Sharon Guest, enjoyed the discussion. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Sharon. Thanks for listening. One final question, Stu. How are you feeling about tomorrow? Is the creatine pulsing through the veins?
No. More daunted by it than I am Ipswich's Championship fixture list. It's the annual sports day.
Can we come and live stream it?
Daughter's primary school.
Yeah,
that would get some numbers, I reckon.
It would. I'd watch it.
Watch my embarrassment. Getting through it not injured is probably top priority. I've seen some sports day injuries over recent years. I've seen hammies go. I've seen people taken off to hospital in ambulances after falling on shoulders. Ooh. Yeah, it gets competitive, guys. So I think I said to you, I've finished second, third, and fourth in consecutive years. So if I can halt the decline, I'll be happy. There's always a bit of tactical. There's so many parents that enter it. They normally have to do it over sort of 2 races. So you have to eye up the competition and try and sort of position yourself for the weaker race. So that's my plan. I'll let you know how I get on.
I look forward to it, mate. Just make sure you stretch. That's what I'd say before you get going. AJ, what about you? Have you got anything else to say before we leave? Crack on with other stuff?
Yeah, I've currently got a TV on to my right, which will be showing the Carabao Cup draw.
Of course.
He says. They are going to talk about the Carabao Cup draw for a good, probably hour, knowing them, before doing the northern section, and then they'll talk about the northern section for another hour before doing the southern section. So check back in about 4 months when hopefully that will all be done and we'll know who Town are playing in the first round.
Not Plymouth away, not Exeter away, none of that nonsense. Yeah. Not Cheltenham away, the Bristol clubs. Just a nice home draw.
Nice home draw. Lose it, get out of it.
So league. This caught us a little bit by surprise, but they've kind of checked because so many clubs qualified for Europe in the Premier League last season. There's been a knock-on effect, right? So Ipswich normally relegated clubs don't go into the first round draw.
But now they do. So here you go. That caught me by surprise today. There's a preliminary round today. Got there in the end. Not today, but it's been drawn out today. It's already been done. So it's going to be, Accrington Oldham, huge, and Barnet Newport, also huge. They've just decided who plays at home, and they've gone to an ad break after doing the draw for who plays at home. And then, from there on, it'll be first round. Ipswich are in it. Sheffield United are in it. They can't get Sheffield United because they're in the north. And Southampton are in it as well. Lots of possibilities. Some nasty ones, which we've already kind of gone through. And Stu has mentioned Reading. Oh, my God, not again. Southampton.
Not just from a selfish perspective of us having to go there, but also from the fact that slots in between Birmingham and Southampton in that first week of the season. So, from the team's point of view, a long trip wouldn't be ideal.
I like this
home game or local.
I like this from Shabby, guaranteed to be away and miles away. It does feel like that. A few more nice comments. Yeah, Michael, more live streams like this, guys. We'll try. Michael, it's been fun. Dino, great live pod. Brilliant, lads. Nice one. Right, then, we better wrap up then, shall we, friends? AJ's got to go and cover the Carabao Cup draw, which is living the dream. Friends, just to remind us for our sponsors, use the code KOA at starterspirits.co.uk for all their excellent products they've got there, including their award-winning gin, or is it vodka liqueur? It's the Biscoff vodka liqueur, isn't it? I should know this. It's your favourite. Anyway, get involved in that. Yes, that's the code KOA for 20% off. And also, friends, if you can leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, that just helps lift us visibility-wise in the charts. And this has been fun, so hopefully we'll do this a bit more in the coming season. We know who Ipswich Town are going to play when they kick off the season. Birmingham away. We know when they're hopefully going to finally beat Norwich as well. And we also know how they're going to finish the season and when they're going to wrap up promotion. Have a great weekend, friends. We'll speak to you next week.